Hi, my name's Hazem Gaber, and today we're going to learn about section 4, which is value. What is value? Value means we're continually evaluating and adjusting the project alignment to business objectives and intended benefits and value. Value is the ultimate indicator of the success of the project. It can be realized throughout the project, at the end of the project, or after the project is complete. Value can be quantitative or it can be qualitative. A focus on the outcome allows us to support the benefits that lead to value creation. So we must always evaluate the project. And remember, you can't write the word evaluate without the word value, except the E is at the front. So you always must evaluate the project to make sure that you're delivering the value that was intended by the organization. Otherwise, you're just wasting time and money, and there's no point in keeping the project. So how do we do that? Well, value has to be from the perspective of the customer or the end user. They're the ones that are going to tell you whether or not the value was delivered. So it can be financial, can be a financial contribution to the sponsor, or it can be public good or a social benefit. That all depends on who the project is for. You know, if it's for a charity or for the government, it may not be a dollar amount. If it's for a private company, it might be a dollar amount. It might not be something you can measure. Let's say a marketing campaign or brand awareness or being able to improve your reputation in the market. Sometimes you can't put a dollar on that. So, not every project has a business case. Some do, many do. So, there's a whole bunch of reasons why we need to deliver the project. And when we start our project, we have a charter or we have a statement of work or some other document that tells us the intent of the project. And that could be like alignment, risk exposure, economic feasibility, return on investment, KPIs or key performance indicators, or other alternative approaches. So you can look at 3 of these. One of them is what we call a business need. So the business provides a rationale for the project. They explain why we're doing the project, and that starts with business requirements, which are in the charter. We also provide details about goals and objectives, and the need may be for the performing organization, a partnership, or the public good. But having that statement helps the project team understand the financial or the business reasons for the project, so then they can identify opportunities or problems with being able to increase the value of the project. If they don't know, if the project team doesn't know why we're doing this, then they're just working blind. They need to know why there's a project. They need to know the big picture so they can help fix it or make it better. The second thing that we have is what we call the project justification. That tells us why the business need is worth the investment. So there must be a cost-benefit analysis. If we spend $1 billion on this project, we'll get $2 billion in return, or $3 billion in return, or we'll increase our market share 20%, or whatever. There's got to be a good reason. And of course, third, we've got business strategy, which is the reason for the project and all needs related to the strategy to achieve the value. By having these 3 things, the project team has enough information to make informed decisions. We must have desired outcomes that are clearly described, assessed, and updated through the project. Now, every project has change. And when the project changes, then the project team can go back to the original business need and adapt their response to make sure the changes fit with the intent of the project goals. So, a good project team is always evaluating progress and direction against the desired business case and output so they can confirm that the project continues to be aligned to the needs and will deliver intended outcomes. If the project or stakeholders are no longer aligned with the business need or the project seems unlikely to continue to provide value, then we as an organization may say, hey, it's time to terminate this project. It's not worth spending any more money on it. Value is subjective because the same outcome can have different values to different people or different organizations, because what is a benefit depends on your organizational strategy. You might be thinking short-term, long-term, reputational, non-financial. So every project has different stakeholders, and because of that, the stakeholders decide on the values, and different groups of stakeholders will have different sets of value. Now, within the context of some projects, there may be different forms of value engineering that can maximize value to the customer, to the organization, or other stakeholders. So, an example of this could be delivering the required functionality and quality within a certain risk exposure with as few resources as possible. So sometimes a project does not have a fixed upfront scope of work, and we can optimize value by working with the customer to determine which features are worth investment and which ones are not going to add value. And that means that when we support value realization, we need to focus on intended outcomes instead of deliverables. And that means we can deliver the vision or the purpose of the project instead of a specific deliverable. So if you're designing, let's say, an electric car as part of your project, is the deliverable to come up with a design of the car? Yes or no? The answer is yes. But if the business case is how can we sell as many cars as possible, maybe the technology changes while we're designing the car. So we might say, well, we want to change the battery type, or we want to add this feature, or we want to add AI to the vehicle. These are all possibilities that can improve the sales of the final product. So it wouldn't be fair to deliver the original idea. We need to make changes. I see that a lot in the IT field. A customer says, I want this program, or I want this app, or I want this firewall, or I want this router. So important thing for me is to ask them why. Why do you want this? And then they'll say, well, I want to be able to do this and this and this. And then it turns out that this is probably not the solution that they thought of is not necessarily the best idea, and there's something out there that's better. So then they say, look, what if we did this and this and this? For example, I had a customer who bought a firewall, and he wanted the firewall installed, and said, okay, can you install this firewall? And I said, yes. Why do you want the firewall? And he said, well, I got people here locally, and I got people in another country, and they need to share files. So his idea was the firewall was the solution, but the firewall was not the solution. We built a file sharing application that met his needs, and that became the outcome, which was completely different than what he expected, but it delivered the value that he wanted. So the value of project work can be short-term or long-term, because the value can be mixed with contributions from operational activities. It can be difficult to isolate. So when the project is a component of a program, we may need to evaluate value at the program level. A good evaluation should consider the whole context and the entire life cycle of the project's output, especially when value is realized over time. Project teams may demonstrate or achieve outcomes such as prioritized delivery, better customer service, or an improved work environment. By working with organizational leaders who are responsible, we can make sure that deliverables are positioned to realize the planned outcomes. If you have any questions, please post a comment.